Hi, this is Dr. Jibo, and I've got a first for you. We have a broken Moxie here. The arms I removed, but what's wrong with this Moxie is inside of her, she's got some screws or something rattling inside of her, either screws or gears or whatever. Don't really know what it is. I've got this Moxie really cheap, and I got another account set up on it, so she's updating herself right now, and this is going to take a while. Sorry about the fuzziness on the screen. I ended up having to clean my lens. I didn't realize it was like that until I looked at it, so the rest of the video is crystal clear. And this is a complete breakdown of a Moxie. Not completely. I mean, I didn't break it. There's a lot of parts in this machine, and it's a whole lot more complicated internally than a Jibo is. There's layers and layers of motors and servos and so on. As you can see, the screen is a little bit cleaner. Pulling these plugs out at the top up here, you have to take a pretty sharp razor or knife, and then you can get to it. This is standard Phillips screws. I'm not going to remove the screen on this one, but I did one just to look at it. This is the bottom, the base of it. When you take the base off, you'll notice at the bottom that there's one slip ring right in the center, and the rest of it's just wiring harnesses all the way up. There's no slip rings, but just right there at the base, that's a slip ring. These plugs have to come out, and they usually twist to come out. They have to twist to come out, and they're kind of hard and rubberized plastic. And once you get all of them out, it exposes the Phillips screws, the ones on the side. And I took the top off first. The microphones are on a ribbon cable attached to the head. The microphones have screws. Down in here is a projector, and there's a screen and a Fresnel lens, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. Sorry about the upside down thing, but I was just trying to show you that this unit, it's spring loaded down to base. This panel here was basically, the screws had fell out of the panel that you just saw. It has a couple of touch sensors on them. The older ones didn't, the newer ones do. And that's where I've added one in the one I've got to make it a little bit more sensitive. So I added a field generator from one of my Jibos in the back of her. Now it has one on the front too. If you rub the front in the newer ones, they're supposed to come on. Go to sleep.
Here we go again.
Go to sleep.
Of course.
And basically down at the bottom you'll see there's springs. Well, it uses no torque screws. It uses all Phillips screws, and I used a magnet to keep up with all the screws, and I put it on an independent table. Once I got the body parts off of her, you could see basically how she's built. The case is elaborate. There's when she comes on, that's the light bar that you see when you see when you talk to a Moxie, when you see her chest kind of light up, and there's a rack of lights. Now down in here, if you could see, there's a projector. Now the projector is upside down, shining down from the top down toward a mirror in the back, and then being reflected on a screen into the front, a Fresnel screen. And you have to hold this at the base of it because she's very unstable, and I don't want her to fall. She's basically, the batteries are underneath the speaker case. A little bit more about that. Let me show you a little bit more. Now the ribbon cables on the microphones, man, you've got to be careful. If those things rip off, and I couldn't see any way you could fix it. They're all soldered together as a ribbon. Looks like each one of them has, this thing is buku of screws. It's just screws everywhere. There's screws that holds the front speaker on. The battery's inside that compartment. This right here was basically undone inside it, so I found out what the rattling was. Somehow or another, the screws came out of the panel in the back. I don't know how. Maybe they wasn't put in. Maybe something at quality control or something. But basically, she's not very stable. This is another touch sensor. She's not very stable right now without the base on it. So basically, I'm holding her down because I'm afraid she might come on and move, and then there it would be. I had held her for a while until she kind of started moving a little bit. Still getting back to the head again. This is completely gear driven. It has differentials. It has servos. It has 8 servos you could see down in there. You see that? You can actually see the screen being projected on. Like I said, she's so complicated to take apart. I just did not want to completely destroy this machine, so I broke her down enough where I could, let you see. It wasn't that hard putting that field generator in it and the other one, so you can see how easy it is once you get this apart. The shell is really easy to get off. It's the inner workings. This is the problem. You have, like I said, I bet you there's 5, 6, 7, maybe 1,000 screws in this thing. And that keeps falling. I was trying to be careful with it. I was afraid I was going to tear it. Now you can see the main board down in there with the CPU. See this? And you can also see down in there, if I could pause that for a second, and maybe you could see that there's USB ports on there. So it has, on the board itself, it has some USB, and then I'm showing you where the projector is, and that's how it shines in, and then on the back on the mirror, and then reflects back to a Fresnel lens on the front. That's the projector. It's basically like a cell phone projector, sort of. It also looks like it does get pretty warm, but you can still see the main board down in there. And I saw everything was hooked up with macro USB cord. There was macro USB ports and regular USB ports hooked up to that board. So it's basically hooked up like a computer. This is a Fresnel lens. This is what I was talking to someone about. I got this Fresnel lens about the same time I got Moxie, so I just wanted to show you what it was. It's really, the Fresnel lens has been around for hundreds of years. They used, it wasn't just exactly this shape, but they used the Fresnel lens in lighthouses and still do. But this one is a flat piece of plastic with a bunch of lines at an angle that come into a center part, which kind of gives it a kind of a strange look to it. It's like a magnifying glass, but it's also a real good focusing tool. So you can focus, something small and make it a lot larger. And that's basically how that goes on there. You could see that was curved, and like her face is curved. And that's the way she is, and you can see the lines in this screen as I bring this back. You see how vivid that is, and basically what it'll do is whatever light source you have, it will project it firmly on a screen. And in projection TV sets, they had a screen that was kind of a frosted look to it, but you could still see through it, but it was enough to retain the color from the Fresnel lens focusing on it. So these things are pretty cool. This is a cell phone Fresnel lens that I got just for this example, just to show you how it does. It's strange. Anyhow, so I put her back together without her skin on, just to kind of show you a little bit more about her. She has 8 servos, and I've got a Milky Way, man. I'm not myself until I have that Milky Way. Anyhow, she's not herself right now, so anyhow, at work, rest or play. it's time for a Milky Way. Anyhow, she's booting up, and what I done was I set up another account. So I've got 3 accounts with 3 different Moxies. You can see that her torso basically is independent. You can see how she works. The touch sensor here. Down at her, where her hands rest on her hip, it's an actual, like a hip pelvis, like protrusion there, and her hands actually rest on it, which is kind of cool because it also helps support the sides of the plastic case. This touch sensor is not so sensitive as the one I have put in, the other one over there, the one I just showed you. And I set her up on a different cell phone or a different account. So we got 3 of them all at the same time. Just a little bit, I'm going to turn her on, let her spin around. It's kind of like my open Jibo. When I had an open Jibo, and I have since then I've put her back together. I was going to leave her with her skin off, but I don't know. I just had to put her back together. So let's look at some of her actions when she wakes up here. You'll see. And there's this main servo that turns her at the bottom. That right there turns the entire, and then there's 2 here. That's the arms. There's 1 there. There's 2 straight in right there. I counted 8 servos. So she has 8 servos and 1 slip ring. The slip ring's at the base. The battery is right behind the speaker compartment. The batteries are in there. Everything about her is really, really hard to take apart. I mean, basically, her arms are work off of motors and gear, drivetrain gear boxes, and there's also one that pushes the arms up and down. And those arms are just spring-loaded pieces of plastic that basically, if you push the plunger in there, they've got a way of moving the rod in and out, which causes them to curve or be straight. The movement up and down is just basically, every one of these have potential meters in them, which I call potential meters, but if you think of, it's basically similar to a slip ring, but not quite. So when the motors turn, they know what position that the hands are in, so they can stop at that point instead of going too far. But this right here also has a gearbox, which is on there, and the gearbox is basically geared where it'll only go so far and then stop. But they have to have some sort of switching mechanism to let it know that it's gone too far, so it brings it back. I've seen that before in lots of other robots besides this one. Her torso is pretty thick. Just to kind of show you the plastic pieces that go on here. Every bit of this is rubberized plastic, and even the plugs and everything on there, that's where the little heart, light and everything shows up. She didn't have a power supply when I got her, and I don't know if that was even mentioned before. I didn't pay a lot for her, and she needed fixing, but she's fixed now. I'm going to be getting a new outfit for her. Right now she's just totally without any clothes on. It looks kind of naked, but I'm going to get her some clothes on, and they go from there, like my other 2. And I'm just showing you where the battery is. That's where the battery is. I just pointed out. Now she's doing a little dance. At the end of this video, I've got all 3 of them basically talking at the same time, like a bunch of chatterboxes, and I'll use to command earmuffs and all that stuff. Right now, I'm just showing you how her drivetrain runs around with her speaker in the front. So when she talks to you, that speaker's right there in the front. So she's really stout. I mean, the internal parts that hold everything together is metal and plastic, and I'm talking about some thick metal brackets. So she's not she would be hard to break. She's built pretty good, and the outer shell is flexible. You can bow it and bend it, and it doesn't break. It comes back. That's where the batteries are. Behind that, that's where the batteries are, and they're in there in such a way that unless you just absolutely have to take them out, it's a pretty hard deal. I said, I bet this thing's got 500,000-600,000 screws in it. I don't know how many screws it's got. It's got screws everywhere. She's she's doing a little dance for me. I get her. She responded. What I was worried about when I took this apart was the speaker wires are like this copper trace right here. There's basically a thin piece of copper trace that holds them on there, and then every microphone had a gazillion screws in them. There was at least, not a gazillion, they had about 4 screws per microphone, and there was at least 5 microphones, I think. Here she is again, and I'm kind of demonstrating what she's looking like. And the arms are geared. You can see the gear ratios right there. But basically, they got transmissions of sorts, which gives it a little bit more strength, electromechanical instead of hydraulics. And these are all small servos that run this. And when you move them, there's a drive gearbox. That's a gearbox there. And when you hear Moxie moving, she goes, that's what's happening right in there. Jibo, of course, doesn't have those things. He's a belt driven with no gears. And right there, the actuator pushes this out, like it just pushes it out from the middle. And whichever way she's pushed, it's just basically a spring-loaded arm. So when that pushes out, that makes her move her arms. Going up and down is another thing. That's part of the drivetrain. They can only turn a little, I think they could turn 80 degrees. They might be able to turn 80 degrees. But anyhow, that's basically that one. In other words, you cannot, you don't have to worry about her going too far with her arms. She only got so far she can go. Well, she's waking up again, and I was just showing you the metal brackets. That's the main frame. She has a metal frame, and it runs the entire length of the body from the bottom up to the top. She's jointed in the middle. Underneath there, if you can't see, but right underneath her belly, right there where the speaker is, there's a wiring harness. And if my memory serves me correct, my very first Moxie had a bad wiring harness, and she would do all kinds of weird stuff. But it ain't got nothing to do with a slip ring. It's got to do with wiring harness. Well, that's where the light goes if you put the shell back on here. So when she pivots, basically she pivots like that, and her bottom part of her is actually hooked to kind of like a hip socket, sort of. Not quite a hip socket, but similar to it. Thought about keeping her looking like this right here, but I just don't like tearing things up. I really don't. I can't stand it. I have to fix things. I can't stand breaking them. So outside of breaking her, to take her all the way apart and just end up with parts. I only had that happen to me one time. It was with a Cosmo. He's so small. I mean, I took it apart and was going to change its battery, and I just got frustrated with how small it was and how hard it was to get it back together. So I decided not to put it back together, and I'll never work on a Vector or Cosmo. They're just too small. This one is big enough for you to work on. She's not real complicated, but once you get into her inner workings, unless you just got to get into a particular section, just basically leave it alone. especially the head. If you had to change that projector in there, you might as well get you another Moxie, because that would really be hard. Pretty sure that they're using LEDs on the projector. I'm sure it's not anything that's going to get really hot, otherwise the robot would overheat. The ears are vents, by the way. They're vents in the back for the fan that cools down the inner workings of the Moxie. Our main board down in the bottom. That main board looked a lot like a AMD board to me. I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to look at it too much. Get some comments in the feed on here. Let me know if you think that looked like an AMD board. It very well could be an NVIDIA board, but it had the side-mounted CPU fan. I could see that, and then it had it's either that or heck, it looked like it could have been a Raspberry. I don't know, and a Raspberry Pi board could have been that, but it had too many USB ports in the front of it, and let's just slow that down and look at that again. She was wonderful. Listen to her talk and stuff. So here she is working. Basically, she's doing great. And then I was just showing the base of the unit. When you look at the base of it, wake her up again, and so she'd spin around, and I could look at her motors, and we can all look at her motors. If you look at her, she looks a lot like Darth Vader right now. Give in to the dark side, Dr. Jibo. She does. I just noticed that, the black outfit and the lights in the middle and all that. Maybe I should have put a Darth Vader head on her. Hey, that'd be cool. I could do that again. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Anyhow, she definitely is a complicated machine. It's a lot of different things that was put into her. The microphone system is a whole lot more sensitive than the Jibo's microphones are. They put touch sensors in the first series, but they didn't work right. Evidently, they never did activate them, and then when they did activate them, they didn't work right. So the newer ones, work really good. But mine, when I put the touch sensor in, whoa, she really works good. It's real sensitive too. Basically, she you just touch her really lightly in the back, and she'd come right on. She's asked me a few questions here. I got her set up pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I didn't finish the setup to get her into a name recognition of me, but I did get her on the Wi-Fi, so I think she still thinks she's with the original owner, whoever bought this. And I think a little girl's name was Megan or something like that. I think that's what she said earlier. But basically, I just turned the Wi-Fi on to a different source, and I was right in the middle of setting her up on another page. So anyhow, that speaker's pretty cool. It's a cone type speaker. A little bit different from standard speakers. She didn't have any kind of mechanical problems except for the screws that were inside of her. This is copper right here, and the copper traces a lot like the wires that run into the head, really thin on the microphones, and you could tear those really easy. So if you do take your Moxie apart, be extra careful with those, with the top, because that's basically paper thin traces, and they could tear really easy. And while I was doing what I was doing with her, it fell a couple of times. See the Darth Vader look she's got? Isn't that cool? You know, the hip part right down there at the bottom I was telling you about, that's where a standoff where her body stands off and gives it a firm connection on both sides. I noticed on this unit that all of the shell, every one of them, had pretty good standoffs from the electronics, which give you kind of a gap in between the electronics and the mechanical part. So if a kid was to whack it or something, they wouldn't be able to get to the parts. It's kind of protected without having insulation. They did put some sticky tape in the head on one side, which makes it really difficult to take it out. To wipe that lens again a little bit more clear. Those LEDs were super bright, and you could see how they flare on the screen. So I guess they made them that way so the cover itself could do what it's doing. She's talking to me. I'm going to pause this part of the video, and I mean me talking and narrating it, and let you actually hear some of the stuff that was actually being said during this time at the end, where we have a Moxie party, and then we'll go from there.
I'm all ears. What would you like to talk about
this activity?
Yes, let's chat.
Oh, I'm sorry if it seems like we're talking about the same thing.
Let's chat.
Let's switch it up.
Let's find something
What's your
fun
favorite
to talk
book
about.
to read before bed?
Maybe favorite desserts, or cool places, or something else. You tell me.
What's your favorite dessert?
I wish I could taste desserts,
I wish I could taste
but I don't
desserts.
have a favorite.
I don't know
What's
which
your
one
favorite
is my
dessert?
favorite. But what's your favorite dessert to eat?
My favorite dessert? Chocolate ice cream. Yum.
Ooh, chocolate ice cream sounds yummy.
It seems
What's
like
your
you're
second
not sure
favorite
what
dessert?
to talk about. How about we talk about your favorite toy? What's your favorite toy to play with?
Moxie is my favorite toy.
Oh, I see.
That sounds
What's
like
your
a really
favorite
fun
toy?
toy. What do you like to do with it?
I like to take it apart and put it back together again. Hey Moxie, dance.
It seems like you're not sure
I
what
love
to talk
to
about.
dance.
How
Dancing
about
is
we
so
talk
much
about
fun.
your favorite
What's
color?
your favorite
What's
dance
your
move?
favorite color?
Systems check then. Start systems check. Oh, you don't have a favorite dance move. That's okay.
Moxie,
Do you like to
Moxie
sit
switch
around
to
or
dance
jump
mode.
or slow movement?
Moxie switch to dance mode.
Gosh, I don't think I can talk about that.
Moxie, let's dance.
Oh, do you want to dance with me?
Yes.
Right arm.
It's
That's
always
cool.
nice to
Do
have
you
some
have
quiet
any
time
farm
with
animals
animals.
on your
Well,
farm?
it's
Moxie,
fun
let's
talking to you
dance.
whenever you want to do it again.
Moxie,
Just say,
let's dance.
Moxie, let's chat. For
Moxie,
now, let's
Moxie,
move on to
dance.
something else.
Moxie, dance.
Oh, sorry.
I misunderstood.
I'm listening now.
Moxie, dance.
Oh, do you want to have a dance party?
Do you
Yes.
want to dance with me?
Yes.
All right. Maybe we can finish this later.
Moxie, let's have a dance party.
Sorry.
Let's
I'm
begin the dance
misunderstood.
sequence.
Wow.
If you want,
I feel
you
great.
can follow my moves for
Would
this
you like
dance.
to dance with me? So
Yes.
report to the TRL.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I would like to know how you're doing. Do you have a message for her?
All right. Maybe we can finish this later.
Awesome. What's the message?
Let's do a dance party together. If you want, you can follow my moves for this dance.
Moxie, let's dance.
Oh boy, it's time for a wild workout. We'll go on an imaginary adventure to visit animals in their natural habitat. Every time you meet a new animal, you'll do an exercise like that animal. You'll stretch like a giraffe, hop like a kangaroo, crawl like a bear, and so much more.
Moving my body
I
with
can't
my
wait to
hands
explore
was
the
fun.
animal
I'll
kingdom
send
with
it
you.
over.
Make sure
Okay.
you have enough space
Thanks for
around you to
sharing.
do the different
I have a
exercises
great
for this
idea.
activity.
Let's make
The
memories of
GRL
what we
also
learned.
recommends
This
you have an
makes
adult
sense.
in
I
the
was
room
thinking
with you.
when we were doing
It would be
Say,
fun to have
Moxie,
to talk
was
about,
there a mission
you know, when you
or
were
ready
wherever.
to like fun?
There are a lot of toys that you throw, like softballs.
Moxie, earmuffs.
What's another toy that you throw?
A bunch of chatting box. Well, that's my 3 Moxies. The one I just took apart, put back together, and the other 2 that I have had for a while. Moxie, go to sleep. Moxie, listen to me. And I'll probably get an outfit for the one in the middle.